Hello, everyone, and welcome to a platform connectivity demo, in which I will be showing new feature which was added in Service Control version 4.21. First of all, let me describe the setup that we have here. We have a Service Control running over Amazon SQS, all three instances, and NServiceBus, which doesn't show any data because there are no endpoints connected to the tools yet. And we have a simple endpoint, which we will try to connect to the platform. So let me go back to NServiceBus, and let's note that in the footer, we currently have a new button, which is called Connect New Endpoint. So let me do just that. What we can see here is an instruction, which tells us what does it take to connect a new endpoint to this concrete instance of our deployment. So first of all, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to go to NuGet and grab a reference to the new package, which is called NServiceBus servicepulse.connector, and add it to my project. So let me do that. In the second step, I'm advised to copy paste the code from one of the options below. And what are the available options? The first option is when I can just have something, copy something which can be inlined in the code directly. So basically it uses the configuration as a escaped string, or I can copy the JSON configuration, and then I have a snippet showing how to load it from the file. Let me use the first option, and let me go back to my endpoint. I will paste the configuration just after what I previously had when it comes to configuring an endpoint, and let me start the process. So currently it's starting, and let me just hit enter a couple of times to generate some messages so that it's more interesting. Now, when I go back to NServiceBus, you can see that I can see my endpoint already in performance monitoring. I can see it in heartbeats, and it should get active just in a sec, which just happened. Let me show you what we can see in Service Insight. If I refresh here, I can see that there were 3 messages being generated. I can see the information about Saga, which is coming from the Saga audit plugin. If we look at the configuration one more time, what we can see is that that configuration holds pretty much all information about all the plugins that we have in our platform, including the custom checks. So let me go back to Visual Studio, if I'm allowed by, okay, here we go. And let me just uncomment a custom check, just to show you that indeed those custom checks do appear as well. So I'm hitting F5 one more time. Okay, the endpoint started, and if I go to NServiceBus in the custom checks, I should see the check that I just uncommented, which is the case. Okay, perfect. So that pretty much concludes the demo in terms of what does it take to connect a new endpoint. There are 2 additional things that I wanted to point out. First of all, what are the advantages of the new package and the features in NServiceBus? If we go to the references, we can see that the new package references all the plugins that previously had to be added separately. And this is something that especially the newcomers to the platform can take advantage of, because they don't need to figure out what are the names of those packages here. They can just grab a single one and that's it. Secondly, when we look at the configuration, what you can notice is that in my Amazon SQS setup, I'm actually using a prefix. So all the queues in my system will be prefixed with Tomek dash. And what it means is that for some of the plugins, I actually need to provide that configuration, including the prefix. And for some, I don't have to do it. So you can imagine that in the past, it was a bit tricky in some of the scenarios for the users to figure out what is exactly the value that they should be putting here. The same was with SQL when they were using a custom schema or catalog, or with MSMQ if they had to provide a machine name. So right now it's generated for the users and they can just go and use it. Finally, if we go back to the configuration, it points out to the documentation pages. And apart from what I already mentioned, I wanted to point out one of the samples, which is included, which shows how to integrate the platform connectivity package with Microsoft configuration extensions. And actually, it's pretty simple. If the configuration is available in one of the providers, it's actually a one-liner to grab it using the host context. So what it enables the users to do is to store the configuration in whatever provider they wish, which might be a file, which might be an Azure Key Vault, or any other source that they wish to store their configuration in, and they can pretty easily grab it as long as they are using the generic host approach to host their endpoints. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching the presentation, and I hope that you enjoyed it.